You're listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.
Well, welcome to the Mammal Watching podcast with me, John Hall, who is probably now in Madagascar, hopefully, but currently in New York.
And me, Charles Foley, in Minneapolis.
Well, Charles, how's it going? What have you been reading about this week?
Well, John, I have always been a bit of a sucker for field guides, or frankly, for any book that provides mammal distribution maps and talks about wildlife trends. And when I was a kid, I used to pore over a book by a guy called Jeremy Mallinson, which was called The Shadow of Extinction: Europe's Threatened Wild Mammals. And the book was published in 1978. And the recurrent theme was that many of the large mammal species in Europe, and certainly all of the large carnivores, were under significant threat, and many were at risk of extermination. Now, it's true that many species in Europe are still highly threatened, and apparently 1 in 9 species in Europe are still threatened with extinction, although most of those are smaller animals such as snails and fish. So it was really good to read a report called the 2022 Wildlife Comeback report that was published recently by the Zoological Society of London and 2 birding groups. And this document details the change in population size and distribution of 50 species of mammal and bird in Europe over the past 50 years or so. And frankly, it's a little hard to discern whether the species were chosen specifically because they were increasing. But either way, the list of species and the extent of their growth is really impressive. Basically, pretty much all of the large ungulates have experienced either large population increases or range extensions or both. And this includes the European bison, the elk, which is a moose to Americans, Spanish ibex, alpine ibex, chamois, etc. And many of these animals, their numbers have increased by over 1,000% since the 1970s. And perhaps even more impressively, the numbers of all 5 of Europe's large carnivores, that's the brown bears, grey wolves, Iberian and Eurasian lynxes, and wolverines, have showed increases in their abundance over recent decades, which, let's face it, for a continent like Europe, which has such a high density of people, is quite an impressive statistic. And wolf numbers, for instance, have increased by over 1,500% in 50 years to nearly 17,000 animals. Now, you have to put these figures into context and realize that most of that growth has occurred in the last 50 years. And for some species like the Iberian lynx, probably only in the last 15 years or so. And compared to their historical numbers and distribution, the figures are way down because in the past, they were hunted and persecuted and affected by habitat loss. And as a result, most species suffered huge declines until around the mid-20th century. But certainly for most large mammal species in Europe, the current trend is very favorable. And for many of the species, these expansions have occurred as a result of better legal protection. And while some of the species, such as beavers and bison, have spread as a result of reintroductions, most of the increases have actually come from natural expansion and recolonization. So anyway, I found the report quite heartening, and it's certainly worth a read. And I think what we'll do is we'll put a link onto the Mammal Watching website so people can download the PDF of the document and peruse it themselves.
Thanks for that, Charles. That is some rare good news on the conservation front. Even the last year or so.
Happy birthday, John.
Oh, thank you.
All right, John, happy birthday. When's the actual date?
November 4.
November 4th.
I am hoping for a new lemur or 2 for my birthday.
All right, turning 40, huh? Great stuff.
As I was saying, when I was so rudely interrupted, that is some rare good news for once.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, how cool is that? It shows there's hope.
Yeah.
Things can change. Things can turn around quickly for little animals, that's right.
Yeah, and I mean, otters are now pretty widespread across the UK. And it's interesting to look at the spread of something like the golden jackal. I mean, golden jackals are really slow moving across Europe. They're now in Austria, they're in sort of Eastern Italy, etc. And, who knows, I imagine not too distant future, they'll probably be across in much of Europe. Yeah. So that's the thing. If you don't hunt animals, then you just let them be, then their populations can recover.
That's right. I mean, just look, do you remember all the films when COVID first struck? Everyone was in lockdown and all those videos went viral of animals reclaiming the streets. And that was just great. I mean, it just made me smile so much to see how quickly they can return and come out of the shadows. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. And as you say, it's just, nice to hear some good news for a change.
Yeah, thank you for that. So Charles and I are very pleased today to be joined live from Asuncion in Paraguay. Two people who are familiar, I think, to many of you who follow the website, Karenina and her husband, Andrey Giljov, or AKA the traveling naturalists, as they sign their trip reports sometimes. I guess I've been talking to you guys for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, maybe, since you first got in touch with it. You were working on Saiga in Russia, and you were interested in using mammal watching to support that research through organizing basically photo safaris. But since then, you've started submitting trip reports, you've traveled the world, and now you're living and working in Paraguay, which is very exciting. Welcome to the podcast, Karina and Andrey.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a true pleasure to be here and be very proud to be your guests.
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
You are very welcome. Very good to have you, both of you, on here.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little, and I gave a very brief introduction, could you tell us a little bit more about yourselves?
Oh, sure. Probably I will talk more today because I'm about talking. Andrey is more about doing.
No.
Yes. So we are just a couple of zoologists. We both have PhDs in biology. Our research, our studies are all devoted to animal behavior. And when we just started our academic careers, we had a little study we conducted in the lab. But since then, we decided that this is not the way we want to study animals and their behavior. We didn't feel we really getting some new information about animal behavior. We wanted to go in the wild, to go in the field and start looking what they are actually doing when the researchers do not do some bad or good things with them. So, and it was like 15 years ago, and since then we started both field zoology and mammal watching trips, because it's all the same for us. It's very difficult to separate these two things because we do it at the same time in the same trips. We never go just for the research for the particular species we're studying. No, we always trying to see as much as possible of any kind of wildlife and mammals especially. And most of our study subjects are mammals, but we also did some research on birds. And after we get obsessed with all these field trips and watching what animals are doing in the wild, we decided that this is the way we want to live our lives. And we had sometimes problems, of course, with funding, because we wanted to travel in different countries and different continents, and it wasn't very easy to get some money for that. And we also started guiding. So we guided some trips in Africa, in Namibia, in Botswana. We guided
Brazil,
a little bit Brazil, some parts of Russia as well. And so that was our way of coming to this guiding and organizing mammal and wildlife watching trips and tours. And when we felt a little bit experienced in it, we started to think about the Saiga trips, which we were running for several years, because we made a research in Saigas for 10 years altogether, but the population in Russia is critically small. It's very small. It should be very strictly protected to keep it as it is, at least. And it gets the reserve, the Stepnoy Nature Reserve, it gets very little money, very little support. So we started to think what we can do, because 10 years of research didn't bring the research any money or any help for Saigas. There are 40 or more scientific papers about our research, but it doesn't help actually. So we decided that we should do something besides the academic studies, because it's all very good things to know what is in the animal brains, but it doesn't help when this animal just disappear. So we conceived this idea and started to develop it slowly. And what we get is quite interesting, because we have made the hides, the wooden hides, stationary hides to observe Saigas, and it allows people to come and see and photograph and enjoy them at a very close range, sometimes just few meters. And normally this species is very, very flighty, very skittish, very vigilant. It's hard to see them properly, and there is something to see. They are very prominent faces, very prominent, charismatic appearance. So it's really needed it's really important to see them up to close, and we were lucky to be able to organize this and make some photographers and mammal watchers happy.
Yeah, we had
affected. Yes,
we had Mogens Troll on the podcast.
Oh yeah, yes,
and he
yes.
talked about his experience with Saiga. I think it was one of his all-time favorite experiences, and he shared some video of that extraordinary morning he had with you guys. It was absolutely spectacular. Yeah.
Thank you. That's nice to hear, and we were happy. It's very, very rare thing when you can make people and animals happy at the same time. So the photographers and mammal watchers are happy, and Saigas are protected, because it was that kind of business, not true business, because we got very little profit from it. The idea was to get money for the reserve, to develop it, to keep it running, to keep the territory protected from the poaching. And so the most part of the money, the people who visited this reserve, they paid for the donation, not for our salaries or like that.
Right.
Yes.
And I think I should probably mention here, just in case our guests don't know what a saiga is, it is an antelope, medium-sized antelope with a really bulbous nose, isn't it? It's a really interesting looking antelope. It's one of probably the most interesting looking antelopes, in my opinion.
Yes.
And this nose can have different shapes depending on the mood or behavior. They can make incredible sounds with this nose, the males especially. It's bulbing, growling sounds, very low. So it's something what is interesting about this species. And even small cows, they can't walk very well, but their voices are very low. They always say something like "mama, mama." It's much lower than I'm showing.
Yes.
So, and that's funny.
And how many people visited typically in a year, for instance?
In a year, it was, I guess, it's not so many reports in mammal watching, on mammal watching website, because most of them were from Russia or the neighboring countries like Kazakhstan or
there were
Belarus.
some from Germany.
From Germany, yes.
But they were not so interested only in mammals. They were like
looking
more
at
birders, yes, but also wanted to see saigas. They are not so in mammals.
Every year it was like not more than 10 groups, I guess. Sometimes the group is just 2 people, sometimes the group is much bigger, but it wasn't really a lot of people there. And the administration of the reserve, they never wanted many people to come, because every time we pass to these heights, we disturb some saigas grazing nearby or something like this. So it was really small scale thing, but it helped a lot because in this region the salaries and all things are very low. So even this small impact from the like 10 groups coming every year, it helped significantly. Yes, it had some impact because it's a very small place. The team is like not more than 10 people. It's more or less. Sometimes it's like yes, rangers are just changing from month to month, but it's a really small team altogether. The director, the accountants, the rangers, and that's it mostly. So it's not a big reserve, but it's crucially important for the Saiga population. It's the center of the habitat now in Russia.
Right. And so how many animals are in that area, and how does that compare to some of the other populations, for instance, in Mongolia, etc.?
In this that reserve, Stepnoy has its neighboring reserve in a neighboring state, which is Kalmykia, where the place which John visited, Chorny Zemlya Reserve. And these two reserves are the only place where you can find Saiga. Well, yes, in Russia and Europe. So it's the only place for European population, and it has now about 6,000 to 8,000 of them. When we started, it was about 2,000 or less. Yes.
Okay. And that increase, do you attribute that to your efforts of bringing people in to see the Saiga and provide more money, or what was the cause of that rise?
It's a mixture of reasons, not one of reasons. First reason, it's a slight but general increase in people income in the region. It was really slight, but it was. So now it's back decreasing, unfortunately. That's the first reason. The second,
the people didn't rely on the meat of Saiga so much, so they were able to find other sources, and it wasn't that important for them because it's senseless to fight against poaching when people just need to eat something and they will go anyway to feed their families.
Or to sell it,
or
neighbors.
To sell the horns or whatever, because they have no other options for the income.
Other reasons are more, interest in Saiga. At first, most of people, even in Russia, even in this region, said, "Oh, there are still any Saigas? I thought they're only in Mongolia or somewhere else." And we, year to year, we insisted there are Saigas. They have to be protected. They should be protected now. And we used our photos, which we made in large quantities, and videos to show that it's not a small silhouette on the horizon, but it's a calf which is milking now with his mother, or some fight, beautiful against the sunset. So even such information, which is going to ministries, to the capital, to the local government, to the local journalist, that's all together make more attention to the reserve.
To the reserve and to the species, that it still exists, it's beautiful, and we should protect it.
And shouldn't be closed.
Yeah. And very much in this regard, it was the help of the Saiga Conservation Alliance. They made a great job supporting the reserve and providing information worldwide that Saigas are here they're so cute, so let's protect them and so on. So they really helped, and we helped them. It was some kind of cooperation all the time.
So obviously, with everything that's been happening in Ukraine, you're no longer there in that area. I'm assuming you're no longer working on the project. But do you know what the situation is with the reserve and with the population of Saiga? Do you know?
Yes, of course, we always in contact with them. So far it's not some dramatical change, but it's starting already because there is less money, less funds are used for the wildlife protection in the country, and of course, and the biggest problem, the first problem which appeared, is the international funding. So the international NGOs which had offices in Russia and which made projects together with Russian reserves and national parks and whatever, they just stopped. It's very often not their choice of these organizations. It's just impossible bureaucratically, officially to send money to Russia, to send money to people who protecting animals in Russia. It's not possible anymore. So many very important conservation projects, they are on hold. They are not going on anymore.
And it's even not allowed to get money from abroad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any money.
Yeah, so that's even if somebody want to
even from physical person, I mean.
Yes,
from man.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is the problem, because yes, money is needed for any project, and without this it's difficult. But we think the worst thing will be much later, than the economical situation will be worsen and worsen, and local people will again have to use taigas to get some income, because it's still possible to sell the horns, which are used in some traditional medicine in the East.
Mm-hmm.
Not inside the Russia, in Asia, yes.
Yeah, Chinese traditional medicine.
And this is the way usually people use them. They hunt just for horns and maybe for meat also.
Now for meat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so far it's still saigas there. There's not the problems are, but they're not critical, not so fast. But the future looks not very bright for them.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, very sad. I remember you made a post actually not long after the invasion of Ukraine, just talking about the impacts on conservation straight away of what was happening, and it was extremely sad and something I hadn't even thought about. Everyone's caught up in what's happening with people, but of course, animals are hurt too. Yeah. So following that, you've moved to Paraguay. Can you tell us about your plans and how that's going?
Oh, that's going, exciting as every new life. Especially if you started in your mid-30s, it's exciting to say softly. We had many problems. We had many nerves, the cells in our brains, I think, dead forever or something like this, because there are many things we didn't know how to do, how to organize, where to go, what to say. Our Spanish is still not very good, but we are trying to improve it. Yes. So at first, we arrived, we got sick with COVID, we got problems with some documents to get a permanent residency and so on. And we were quite depressed on, wow, probably the plan was too optimistic to come here and start everything, working with mammal watching trips and something like this. But when we just went in the field, started to observe animals, to look for animals, and we forgot about all the problems, and Now we have spent like 3 months in the field, mostly in the Chaco. We had, these two started very slowly. First, I think we visited not the best places and used not the best techniques to look for mammals, but slowly we are starting to realize what to do. And as a result, in this month, we had, I think, our best mammal sightings we had during the last 15 years, traveling like Africa, Australia, Asia, Russia, South America, not the Paraguay.
Yes.
So for some reasons, we had really up to close sightings. I think about 10 species of mammals approached us very closely in Paraguay, which is known for actually good number of species, but low quality of these sightings, because usually it's like
Road crossing.
animal crossing the road in front of your car, or just disappearing in the bush loudly, even if you go by foot. So, but here we applied, I think, all what we learned from our field work. So we do not drive too much. We do not chase mammals too much. We often wait for them at waterholes or some other popular places by them. We use the camera traps to understand what time of the day this animal in this area is visiting this place. So we doing actually research, but the goal is not the fundamental knowledge about animals, but the knowledge about how to see them right here. And we have found some incredible areas. We had, I don't know, some magic days in one place in central Chaco with we spent altogether like 7 hours by the waterhole, and only one specific waterhole. And we had, during the daytime, we had gray-broched deer, tyra, a group of coatis,
a group of collared
peccaries,
tapir
during the daytime, and after dark we have Geoffrey's cat coming to drink, the giant anteater coming to drink, an ocelot coming to drink, and we saw it all by our eyes. It wasn't the camera trap study. It wasn't just an image. It was not so far from us. And yes, and also we now know the really good place for tyras. Many mammal watchers are interested in them, and we think it's a really good point to try to show people tyras here, because it's not, Paraguay is not a place you choose to see tyra, but we had like 5 sightings a day in one area, but no sightings at all in other areas. So it's very complicated here, the patchy habitat. Some places are super good, some are just deserted, nothing except some very common species. So it's difficult here in Paraguay with mammal watching, but it's amazing. It's at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, it's such an incredible. The Chaco is, what is it? The Spanish call it the green hell, right? El Infierno Verde. It's this way. It's just an enormous empty space, and so much potential. Yeah.
The Sir David Attenborough called it one of the last great wilderness areas in the world.
Right. When I was there 10 years ago or so, we were catching things, and it was great for small mammals with, mouse opossums and just different rodents. Have you started doing that as well?
Actually, our idea is not to put much attention on catching things, because some of these species, not all of them, of course, are now much easier to find with thermal imagery.
Of course, yeah.
We have several species of rodents. We have 2 mouse opossums. We had what else? We had small. We we had by the waterhole, we have several species of bats,
Mhm.
quite clearly visible because they were drinking, so you can
Even
take a photo.
yes.
Yes, so it's we are that kind of researchers who trying to avoid catching things. We have nothing against it, but we always are thinking about what if we will hurt it or it will die in the trap or something like this. But we did it, we can do it, we have nothing against it, but we are trying to focus on how to show people animals behaving in their own way, what they doing naturally, not just see it as a species, as a stick in the list, but to see something about them, to understand how they behave, if it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
I have to admit, I love that. I love the fact that you are applying your research skills, your sort of technical research skills to mammal watching. And
Yeah, that's right.
using all those skills to actually sort of figure out, okay, how do you actually see these animals and how can you actually show them to people? But one question I had is just, why did you choose Paraguay? What was it about Paraguay which caught your attention?
Oh, there are many reasons.
Yes, not one.
Not one. First of all, when we think about any country for any reasons, first what we do, we check the mammalwatching.com and what it has about this country, what people see there,
How
they see mammals there and what experience they have, because mammal watching trip reports are often not just the list of species seen, but very often it also gives you some impression about the country,
about the people,
about the quality of the beer or something like this, from people who are more or less close to us in the mentally in the ways of thinking. So it's really we really used to use this information from mammalwatching.com to assess the country, if you want to go there, if it's good or not. And with Paraguay, we learned two things. We read reports, we asked people directly, like Cheryl Antonucci and some Jason Woolger and some other people who visited the country for mammal watching, and we talked to them, and we learned two things: that it has an impressive species list of species which are possible to see, and there is some problem with the quality of the encounters, of the sightings. And we thought that, well, probably we can do something about it. Maybe we can feel some niche, do something there what is not done by others. This was the key point, that first of all, it's interesting in terms of mammals, and it's probably something we can do there to improve the mammal watching opportunities.
A bit similar with saigas, because in some places you can see saiga in 1 kilometer away, 1-2 kilometer away, but not so close, not to make good photos, to observe them. And our idea was to make such a place for photography, for videography, for observation of them. And same here, to make something that you can, where you can get people to make photos of local wildlife, to observe them in natural habitat. So it's a bit similar, but on a broad scale, on all possible mammals and birds also, which you can find there.
And we are focusing here, much like with saigas again, sorry. They are deep in our hearts and souls. Much like with saigas, we are trying to work with places which will benefit from tourists, from mammal watchers coming there. So yes, there are very good places at some national parks or some publicly open areas, but we are focusing on the privately owned lands where the owners still protect some habitat from cutting the trees, making the cattle farms and whatever. They have this idea in their mind, but they really need also some support from the benefits from income. And we also cooperate with the conservation organizations here. One of these is the Guira, Paraguay. They have some privately owned lands, which are private reserves, but very little known. Nobody go there, but they are incredible. There are some really wilderness areas with good chances to see some interesting species. And working with them and bringing people there, we can really support this for long term. So if people see that it can bring some income also, not only farming and or cutting the trees and selling them, at least some small parts of the Chaco may be preserved for future generations and so on. Probably
Yeah.
sounds too
romantic.
too romantic, but yes, that's the idea, to choose the places which are not only good for mammal watching, but which also are protecting them, protecting animals, protecting mammals.
Yeah, that's hugely important. That's great.
Very, yeah. And I mean, I think you're really onto something with the niche that you're investigating. It's partly the the experience, not just the mammal watching, but generating those kind of quality experiences. And there are, because in Paraguay there, I can think of several species that I think people would love to see up close and get really good pictures that are just really difficult to encounter regularly. Tyra is one that's just seems to me almost random where you see that. Things like Jaguarundi, Jeffroy's cat, which you already mentioned, Chaco peccary. These are all really cool species that people would love to photograph. There's a couple more I want to add to that list for selfish reasons. Can you please find out how to see greater grisons and fairy armadillos, please? Because then I'll be on the next plane. That's a challenge. Fairy armadillos is a real challenge, I know. But
yes, we are working on it, specifically from our first day in the field. We are talking to people, showing them the image of the fairy armadillo and asking if they have ever encountered this. Some farmers, some people who actually have much greater chances to see it than we are, and any mammal watcher has. And so far, not so much replies were positive, but there is some area in the central Chaco, the Neuland colony. There is a slight chance that the local farmer there, they see them from time to time, but we should check. We will install the camera traps there. We will keep asking the neighbors, and we will need some more time for this. We're doing this investigation. Not sure it will bring any reliability in the sightings of fairy armadillo. But yes, but we know very good places for Joffrey's cat, for Tyra's, for
colored peccary.
Colored peccaries is not that, but we saw colored peccaries so many times traveling South America, but it's always these flighty things running away,
or something inside the
bush, and we
or
really
running straight at you. Yeah. Sometimes running straight at you as well. Sometimes. Yeah.
And the white-lipped peccary, we have some places to
with good chances
of them. Yes, Chaco peccary are nasty guys. They're difficult. They're still very difficult, and in some places where it wasn't that difficult to see them, now it's not so good. So the poaching, hunting, it's
highest than ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
But well, we'll try to do
Yes.
something with that.
Yeah, please do.
So I'm assuming that for the next few years, at least, you are going to focus your efforts on trying to understand Paraguay as best you can and to get your business up and running over there. But do you have any other sort of mammal watching trips which you really want to take, which you're just putting on ice for the time being?
Oh
Yes.
yes, we have a lot of wishes. We are really interested in in-depth trip to Australia because we've been there twice. Both times we did mostly our research. Once it was outback in the New South Wales, and once it was Tasmania. Both trips were amazing, but we really want more. For some reason, marsupials in general and macropods in particular are beloved. Some of the most interesting animals for us, and we will be really happy to go somewhere deep in Australian continent to look for some rare macropods like monjong or whatever. And also for Andrey, it's a long-beaked echidna.
Yes, that's not Australia.
Yeah,
It's nearby, yes. But
Yeah.
non-big echidna. We had an amazing experience with the captive one in the Moscow Zoo. They had not an exhibition. It was inside the scientific department, so it was closed to visitors but open to researchers.
Mm-hmm.
And we had amazing experience
interacting,
entertaining with a male Bruins long-beaked echidna, which is now unfortunately dead. He was quite old, but well, it was anyway sad.
Yes, it was a great loss for many people,
yes.
because he was so special. He
So
was
special
walking freely in this department. Because
it's like office, with the cabinets, the computers, people walking there. And
The office
he was
pet.
walking inside and stepping on your foot, looking for worms underneath, trying to put your foot away. Maybe there are worms. They should be somewhere. Why not here? It was really funny and clever, and he loved 2 or 3 people who were keepers. And he always understands when they are walking by by
the
sound
of how they walk.
The vibration.
They recognize them very easily.
And walking to them.
And that was amazing, because all what we studied in the university about the monotremates, it's that they're stupid, so they're primitive, they're very ancient, they are not particularly smart, they just eat and sleep and mate and so on. But actually it's not true, because they have, I think, very complex cognitive abilities in recognizing things, in task solving and whatever. And it would be so good to see one in the wild.
Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful.
Any species is okay.
Right.
But all of them are difficult.
Yeah. I think Lisa Daybeck has them at her field site. She came on the program, talked about Papua New Guinea. But I think it's one of those animals that very, very few people have seen. But going back to the thing of many animals are regarded as being primitive or not having sort of much cognitive abilities. But almost invariably, if people have kept an animal as a pet, you discover all sorts of things about these and realize they can often be incredibly social animals. And we've had a very small squirrel, a Paraceros squirrel in Africa as a pet, and she was an amazing pet. And other people who've had fruit bats, and they're just such wonderful animals, and they become part of the family, and they sort of join you for meals, etc. So there's an awful lot, I think, that we can learn about animals, particularly if we're in close proximity to them, if they have them as pets. Not that
That's
I'm advocating sort of going out and it's like, you know, taking a whole bunch of pets, but as I said, a huge
Yeah.
amount of
No,
But if someone has a long beat echidna going spare, I would like it for my office too. Just saying.
It
Yeah.
was very, very special echidna because when then they got it, it was still juvenile and
Yes.
it was really sick. And since then, it's became a pet because they hand raised and helped him to survive very much. And of course, it was not anymore just an animal, one of the animals in the zoo, but just a part of the team.
Yes.
And that's why they always said no for any ideas about making an exhibition for him because it would mean that it will be isolated there. Even a good exhibition, even a good enclosure is isolation for such a species when you can't find a mate or something. And sometimes people even this artificial situation with people as a company is much better than nothing, than
yes.
isolation, social isolation. And nobody understood them because, well, what kind of social isolation can be in echidna, in long
Yeah,
echidna?
yeah.
There are no family groups of them in the wild, no studies about the hierarchy, about the social interaction, but it was obvious that it needed communication, needed interaction.
Mhm.
Oh.
And once his name was Small because when
He arrived,
it was really small.
and it was
Echidna.
the English word small,
The
used
English-
for his nickname.
Yes, and once he was sick because for some reason he found a piece of plastic pocket,
Plastic bag.
plastic bag,
Mhm.
Yeah.
bolsa.
I will say yes.
And, yes, and a small piece, but he somehow
Swallowed it.
and he was sick for several days. And after the operation of putting it out, and he was distressed of not of being isolated, and the keepers there sitting 24 hours with him, and he was nervous until they put his nose in the hand,
Grip.
the nose, and
Yeah.
he was
Calm down.
down.
Yes, because
Everything
it's
is
so
fine.
natural for them to put their nose somewhere deep inside, so that's
Yes.
some comfortable position.
And they were sitting and holding his nose all this time to keep him
Keep him relaxed.
calm.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's a absolutely fascinating story.
We never expected to tell about this on this
Yeah.
podcast, but we are happy to tell about it.
Yeah. But echidna therapists around the world are listening to this, and they now know how to treat a worried echidna, which is going to be a huge medical advantage for many people.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
thank you.
Yes.
So, do you guys have any other stories or anything else that you'd like to communicate with the listeners?
If we can still say something, we want to say huge thanks to Rob and Romy Jensen because Hansen. Yes, we hope so. It's correct. Because these guys, they were traveling Paraguay like several weeks before us, before we arrived in Paraguay, and they just started to help us with the information, with contacts, with phone numbers of people who can help us with all kind of information, where to get fuel in the remote Chaco regions, where to get drinking water and everything like this. And these guys are amazing. The way they are traveling for, I think, years through the South America, it's outstanding. And they really helped us because when we started, we were a bit disoriented, and this guy said, "Oh, that's no problem. You can go there and there. This guy is very friendly. Ask him, and he will show you the place." And that was really huge support, and we are thankful for them for the very good beginning, for our very good beginning in the country, which we are already starting to love, and we want to keep exploring it.
Good to know. I think it was Rob and Remy who suggested that you would be good guests, I think. Is that right, Charles?
That's right. Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
Oh, that's that sounds like a true.
Well, now that you'll be world famous for appearing on the podcast, you can thank them.
Andrey and Karina and Andrey, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love hearing your stories, and good luck with the future in Paraguay. It sounds extremely exciting, and I'm pretty sure I see a return to that country on the horizon now after hearing what you guys are up to. Brilliant.
Yeah, and not just that, I think that I'm sure people listening to this podcast will also probably add it to their list of countries that they want to go and visit, particularly now that they know that there are people over there who are really looking out and trying to find where the animals are and should make excellent guides. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to talk to you and share what we find, what we are. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Mammal Watching with Charles Foley and John Hall. You can find other episodes at mammalwatching.com/podcast.